Good evening. Tsongkhapa, in his three principal aspects of the path, says that if you do not possess the wisdom that sees the things as they are, even if you make your mind habituated with renunciation and bodhicitta, you will not be able to cut the root of samsara. Therefore, make effort in understanding dependent origination. I repeat this. He says that if you do not possess the wisdom, seeing the reality as they are, even if you make your mind habituated with renunciation and bodhicitta, you will not be able to cut the root of the samsara. Therefore, make effort in understanding dependent origination. Actually, he should be saying, therefore you should make effort in understanding emptiness. Because he started this verse by saying that if you do not have the wisdom, understanding the way things are, that means understanding emptiness, then even if you make your mind habituated with the renunciation and bodhicitta, you will not be able to cut the root of samsara. Therefore, you should make effort in understanding emptiness. He should say that. But instead he said, therefore make effort in understanding dependent origination. That's a very important point. Because emptiness and dependent origination are like the two sides of the same coin. Without properly understanding dependent origination, you will never be able to understand emptiness. If you simply try to understand emptiness without relating to, or without understanding the interconnected reality, then you might fall into nihilism. Many people do say that. There are scholars who have written saying that Madhyamika is nihilism, which is absolutely untrue. Because as I said earlier, emptiness is not equal to nothingness, but emptiness means empty of independent existence. So therefore, dependent origination and emptiness are two sides of the same coin. This side, dependent origination, things are dependent, therefore empty of independent existence. This side, empty of independent existence, therefore there is a dependent existence. Independent existence is not there, therefore dependent existence. And that's good news. Because there is a dependent origination, therefore you can accumulate the necessary causes and conditions and you can come out of the samsara. You can accumulate the necessary causes and conditions, you can get liberation. You can remove your afflictive emotions. You can bring about transformation, you can bring about change, because things are interconnected, interrelated. So if you take care of the causes and conditions, you can bring about changes. Contrarily, if things have right from the beginning absolute, inherent, independent existence, then it's the way it is. There's nothing you can do. If the samsara, the cycle of existence, has inherent, independent existence, there's nothing you can do. If I have an inherent, independent existence, I am as I am. However much effort I can make, I will never change. So this is good news, that things are interconnected, interrelated. It's good news. But normally we don't understand this because of ignorance. Because of ignorance, we tend to see things as having inherent, independent, solid, objective existence. We need something to hang on to. What I was saying was, things have dependent origination, interdependent origination. But ordinarily, because of ignorance, we are unable to understand that. In a way, I'm saying that things are in a flux. As we say in science and other philosophical, things are in a flux, everything changing fast. Everything, like if you look at your body, normally when you don't analyze, don't see it through a microscope, it looks okay, I'm solid, and I'm going to live like this for many, many years. That's how we perceive. But if you either use your wisdom or you use a microscope or something, you will be shocked and dismayed or maybe surprised to see that your physical body is just like a bubbling energy, loosely connected, bubbling cells, energies, whatever you call it. Frightening. This is the reality. Now, our naked eyes we hardly see, but if you see a microscope and look at your body, which looks smooth, all right now, but if you look at this with a powerful microscope, it will be mountains and valleys. It's not even like as we see, you see. So things need not exist as we perceive. The reality may be something else. We are perceiving it in a different way. So therefore there is always a gap between appearance and reality. And we get cheated all the time. We suffer all the time because we go after appearance. We have no time. Especially in today's world, everybody is rushed. No time to find out the reality. We go after appearances. Oh, buy this fruit juice. When you buy a fruit juice, you look at the appearance. And the merchants, they know our weakness. So the most important thing they do is the wrapping should be nice. The packaging should be nice. Inside it may be juice which may be lying there for the last 6 months. Really, I'm not exaggerating. And it will not smell because they put some chemicals. That's why it's not good for health, you see. So we are constantly cheated because of our ignorance. And even in terms of financial losses, how much money we spend for those nicely looking things, which really has not much there to give you. If it is a marriage also, again, appearance. How nice he looks, how nice she appears. Then after some time you understand the reality, then say divorce. You go for a shopping, always look after the appearance. And the appearances are normally deceptive. So therefore, what the Buddha is saying by giving this teaching of interdependent origination, he is talking about ultimate reality. That ultimate reality is that everything is loosely connected. There's nothing that concrete, tangible, long-lasting, enduring, which is source of your permanent happiness, Everything is changing, everything is in a flux. There's nothing worthy of hanging on to, craving and grasping, you see. And this Geshe Lhakdor, in his 37 Bodhisattva practices, there is a stanza where he says, Yi dung we yu na teba na yar gitu jin jasun chi hindu zepar na ya dembar meda hinja bangwa Geshe Lhakdor. That means when you encounter a very attractive object, then see it just like the rainbow in the summer. The rainbow also at a distance looks attractive. But nobody will think that I'll catch the rainbow and bring it in my home. If you do that, you'll be the loser, you see. You will simply exhaust yourself and you will get nothing. The closer you go, the rainbow will disappear. So every object is like that. At a distance looks nice. When you don't analyze, it looks nice. But when you scrutinize, what is there beneath the skin? What is there beneath the flesh? How transient it is, how fragile it is, how loosely connected everything, Then things cannot stand as you thought earlier, you see. And if you understand that, then at least you will not be cheated unnecessarily. So therefore this understanding, even on a very superficial level, is so useful, so useful. Clear? When you encounter an attractive object, see that like a rainbow in the summer, even though appearing attractive, but do not see it as having true existence. And give up attachment and craving. That is a bodhisattva practice. That's bodhisattva practice. On the other hand, if you are able to see this loosely connected reality or interconnected reality where everything is transient, changing, in a flux, then through that way you'll also be able to see the fragility of everything. When everything is fragile, then I use the word, as we do at the airport, when you send something, that package or something which is fragile, then we have to write on the packet, fragile, handle carefully. So since we are all fragile, the Buddha is saying, we are all fragile, handle carefully, be nice to others. Really, sometimes I'm tempted to put a placard here, I'm fragile, please handle carefully. It's really something like that. Everybody is really fragile. But normally we don't remember that, you see. Oh, I am somebody who can do this, that, Oh, she is something that can be killed, defeated, bullied and exploited, And Buddha is saying you don't have to exploit them, they're already exploited. You don't have to create more suffering, they're already suffering. As I cited Shantideva yesterday, you don't have to kill people, they will die, things like that, you see. Okay? So therefore, since we are so much habituated with this seeing things as having inherent existence, therefore this text in the verse 25 yesterday we read, that this teaching that leads to definite goodness is subtle and very profound. And children, means ordinary people or children who do not have great hearing on those teachings, that's the teaching on emptiness, then they get frightened, you see. They get frightened. And many people don't want to listen to this. They don't want to listen. That's why when people say, oh, we are all going to die, you are going to die, like that, they get scared. Oh, don't say such inauspicious word. Huh? We are scared of facing the reality. And Buddha, right in the beginning of his teaching, he talks about impermanence. The first teaching that he gave us on impermanence, the first teaching that he gave us on the Four Noble Truth, out of which the first teaching was true suffering, the truth of the suffering. And when he was teaching the truth of suffering, the first of the four features of the truth of suffering is impermanence. And he in fact said that if you don't have understanding of this impermanent, transient in nature, you will not make a move. You will keep on planning, I'll do this, do that, build house, buy car, get married. You see? Even if you are an old man of 90 years old, still he may not think about dying. You ask this question, go to him, are you going to die tonight? He says, oh, maybe not tonight. Yeah, I'm old, I'm going to die very soon, but not tonight. Next day you ask the question, he'll say the same, no, not tonight. That is called grasping of permanence, you see. Grasping of permanence. The more you plan to stay, of course, the more you plan to get those things which is needed for your stay, long-term stay, long-term visa, multi-entry visa, multi-entry visa to samsara. But the more you understand about the fragility, the transient nature, the more you will be able to think about accumulating those things which is really, really necessary in our life, which is really, really worthwhile, which is really, really precious. So therefore the great teachers like Buddha, they are saying the most precious wealth you have is wisdom. The most precious wealth you can have is loving kindness. The most precious wealth you can have is compassion. The most precious wealth you can have is bodhicitta. Now we don't talk about this. The most precious thing I can have is $1. The most precious I can have is euro. What is the rate today of euro? Is it up, down? I want to change some money. It's always thinking about money, you see. And nobody talks about the rate of compassion or rate of loving kindness, the value of it, you see. So therefore, like even for our ordinary life, if you don't have some value system, if you don't have the fundamental good human values, then the very foundation of human culture and civilization is gone. Everybody in their history, we read and we talk about the importance of a culture of a nation. What is the culture of a nation? What is the civilization, you see? Civilization and culture are basically rooted in good human values. If you don't have this fundamental good human values, you cannot talk about culture. And what is culture after all? Culture is very much related to the inner state of the mind. At least in Tibetan, we use the word rikshung or rigne, rigpa, something that's related to the mind. Rikshung means the scriptural texts which are related to transforming the mind. So related to the mind. All the great civilizations, cultures, they are product of human thinking, not human physical exercise. Right? So therefore it is extremely, extremely important to use one's mind to understand as precise as possible of the way things are, especially the impermanent nature, the interconnected nature, the suffering nature. We need to repeatedly think about those things. Not just reading a book, but use your common sense, think about it. Give value to it, talk about it. A society where individuals talk, study, learn more about these fundamental good human values, that society will flourish. A society which keeps more of these fundamental human values, they flourish. Like take the example of the Tibetan people. I'm not saying Tibetans are unique, definitely not. But at least we had some value. Because of that, even in exile, we have leaders like His Holiness Dalai Lama, we have some other great teachers, and the Tibetan people, not necessarily everybody, of course, like anybody, we have bad people also. But generally speaking, relatively, I think, okay. A little bit calm, a little bit smiling, happy, you don't sit there, talking about how unfortunate you are, you don't have your country, Instead of talking all the tragedies, people seem to be quite happy, you see. There are cases of Tibetans who remained in prison for over 15, 20 years. And then they came out having their mind intact after 20, 15 years of suffering. Still, the mind is more or less intact. This is because of this inner culture. This is because even in prison you have a lot of things for you within yourself. You don't have money and other facilities, but at least you have all these inner qualities. You have the capacity to do prayer. You have the capacity to do meditation. You have the capacity to think about the Buddha and the Dalai Lama, so many things, Nobody can stop that. Anything that is related to your mind, nobody can stop that. If you do something physically, yes, they will punish you. So that's the greatness of these mental qualities, positive mental qualities. These mental qualities like love, compassion, you carry everywhere. It doesn't fill your suitcase. It will not become excess baggage at the airport. You don't have to pay more money. And wherever you go, you will be welcomed, you will be liked, you will be supported, you will have many friends, things like that. Now if you don't have this, then everywhere you go, you have to carry so many baggages, So then particularly at the time of the death, of course you can't take anything. And what you can take with you is these good mental qualities. Now the only problem and question is there really a thing called next life? When we die, is that the end of it, or there is something? whether the journey will continue or not. If the journey will continue, then we must plan. We must buy the ticket, confirm it, buy the food for the journey, clothes for the journey. That is spiritual practice. And for me, I think it looks like there is future life. And I normally give a very simple example. Like, for example, if you say, what matters is when you are awake, I don't care about what happens when I sleep. Nobody will say things like that. If you say things like that, then you will suffer, because what you experience in the day, you will have a similar kind of dream in the night. When you're sleeping, you are more or less dead. Physically, you are more or less dead. So now we are talking about not so much about body, we are talking about mind, how it goes to the next life. So tonight when you sleep, especially if you are very tired, then you are more or less dead, really. People may be going around you, you have no idea, You can't smell properly, you can't see anything, you can't hear, You are snoring, You are more or less dead. But this does not mean to say that when you are physically inactive, then your mind doesn't experience anything. That's not the case. Your mind still may be not only active, but will be even more active. Sometimes you get such a vivid dream, sometimes nightmares. It is so scary that you wake up perspiring. The mind is so strong. Mind is so strong. You are sleeping, but the mind, which is basically an energy, when it's affected with certain past day or past life experience, it's so strong that it will shake you and move you and make you wake up perspiring. And I've actually lived with people who do this. There was somebody with whom I was staying, actually a Tibetan doctor. So around 2 o'clock, he was on that bed, I was on this bed. He just woke up shouting, his hand is like, wow! 2 p.m. in the night. Then I said, what happened, Amjila, what happened? He said, no, nothing. He slept, Of course, then the next morning during the breakfast, I teased Amjila, what happened? Doctor said, what happened, Then he said that he got a very scary dream. There were 2 like shiny black iron kind of men, very powerful. And both of them, one holding one of his other hand and asking him to go somewhere. And he was pulling back. And then he shouted, in the dream, and he woke up actually, So these are the examples, your mind is so strong. Your brain or mind is so strong. And I think you should take these kind of examples. Once I was in Washington, several years back, I was watching that air show. It's a 3D air show. We were sitting comfortably on the chair. But this 3D show was so powerful to me, to my mind and brain. I cannot look at it for even a minute. Few seconds, then I have to just close my eye. Otherwise, I'm going to fall down from the chair. If I say this, people don't trust this. How is it possible? It is possible. It really is happening. So your energy or mind, brain, whatever you call it, so powerful that you become helpless. You see? So what I'm really saying is in the night when you're sleeping, physically you may be very inactive, but mentally you are very active. The mind is very vivid. It experiences happiness, experiences suffering. So similarly, when the mind goes, just as from the day to the night the mind goes and experiences, similarly when the mind goes to the next life also, it may not have a certain grosser physical body like we have, but it may experience the same happiness and suffering. So therefore it is important to live a way of life so that you don't have to have those nightmares and sufferings in your future journey. Now, for example, in the day, karma, the cause-effect relationship, in the day, if you fight with somebody very strongly, maybe exchange some feasts, and very angry, it is very likely in the night when you are sleeping and dreaming you will fight again. That's called law of causality, you see. Because in the day you fought very strongly, it left an impact, imprint is there, then that imprint gets activated again, and you experience the same thing. That's how you experience the result of the action that you do. So in this way we need to understand and take a little bit of care about what we are doing so that you don't unnecessarily suffer. Because once you get habituated with something, once you leave an imprint on your mind, there is no escape from it. You cannot cheat karma. You cannot cheat. You can cheat some people, but you cannot cheat what you do. It always leaves an imprint. And on one's mind it is said it has like, I don't know, countless imprints, positive imprints, negative imprints, And when those imprints encounter external situations, stimuli, then it gets activated. Just like recording a song. If you record a song on a tape recorder, tape ribbon, having recorded it, if you look at the ribbon, can you see the song? So you're not being able to see the song doesn't mean the song is not there. The imprint is there. How would you know it? You put it in your tape recorder or whatever, and when that tape ribbon, gets activated by the needed parts of the tape recorder, then it will play whatever is recorded. If you have recorded a song, then you can play and you can hear a nice song. If you have recorded people yelling and shouting and fighting, then you play, you hear that, you see. So don't think that because you are not able to see, it is not there. So many examples like that are there. So similarly, whatever we do, we get it recorded. And next time when it encounters the needed causes and factors, it gets activated and you experience either happiness or suffering. Therefore, take care. That's what the Buddha is saying. Therefore, take care. It is in your hand. Okay? So therefore, this concept of dependent origination is very, very, very important. Everything is mutually dependent, interconnected, interrelated. There's nothing that has a objective, inherent, independent existence. Now that is, if you think carefully, it is frightening. Therefore, the text says that the childish or the children, ordinary people, they get frightened when they hear this teaching. Because you always thought, yes, I'm here. I'm solidly here. So this grasping to me, and especially to those to whom you have so much attachment, you see. But this person which you loved so much, which you thought is a great, handsome and beautiful, is fragile, impermanent, transient, it's not there as you thought, that shakes you, you see. Because you always looked for a tangible object. This is it. This is the person I can love. This is the furniture I should buy, But with this understanding, then says, mirage, rainbow, illusion. You see. So you can now not only listen to the Buddhist teaching, but if you use some of these scientific instruments and see about the reality. Like, for example, impermanence. Okay, we talk about impermanence. Things are changing momentarily. We talk about this all the time. It may not shake you. It may not make much impact in you. But now you watch a video of your body. I'm planning to come up with some project. If anybody is interested, please work with me, because I'm not very good in this, dealing with the machines. Teaching impermanence by showing how human body functions. Externally, it's wrapped in skin, so it looks okay, but now go inside, see how the lungs function, how the heart functions, how all the parts in your body function. Then you will see how fragile it is. That's not to frighten you, but simply to be able to see the reality so that you take better care of it. You cannot just throw everything into your mouth, thinking that inside there is a machine which can, crush everything, which can digest everything. We do it even on such a small scale, I don't want to talk big, These teachings are really talking about big things, But we need to start from those small, practical things. You see, if there is a slight damage to the lung or to the kidney, you have breathing problem. You have sleeping problem. So many problems. If some of these tiny pores through which blood goes, through which water goes, through which air goes, if they get plugged, you see? So it will help you to take better care of yourself, not to frighten you. Like a glass, anything that's made of glass, we will handle very carefully because the more it is fragile, the more we handle it carefully, don't we? So similarly, if you understand how fragile you are or how fragile others, then as I said earlier, we need to handle these things very carefully. So it will help you, it will not harm you. Okay? Most of the cases people die unnecessarily because they don't know how to take care of themselves. I take smoke all the time and then drink. So they're really like nice videos on how lungs and brains and everything function. We should sometimes watch those things. Then we'll see, get some idea about what impermanence is. The external trees and mountains may be permanent, may be impermanent, but that has nothing much to do with us directly. But with your own psychophysical aggregate, how it is in the suffering nature, how it is impermanent, it's very important for us to understand it. That will completely transform and change us. Because Buddha, how did he achieve enlightenment? He was clever enough to ask these questions, He was a prince. He is, according to that time, he has everything at his disposal. But he was clever enough to ask this question, these pertinent questions of old age, of sickness, of death. Then he asked this very important question, how can we reduce this? How can we end these sufferings, these problems? What are the causes and conditions of these problems? And not only he found them, but he lived and practiced that and found a way to cure human illness, human problems, not temporarily but for long term. So therefore, many thinkers today, they say that of all the scientists that the world has seen, Buddha is, from that perspective, is the greatest scientist because he came out with a solution of removing the human problems from the very root. From the very root. That means remove the ignorance, you will be happy. The other findings are like patchwork solutions. Whether it's a scientific finding or any other finding, if there's a problem with the kidney, okay, just treat the kidney. Hardly think about the rest of the body. Of course, never think about the mind. If there is a problem of the eye, okay, treat the eye, do an operation, remove it or replace it, things like that. This is how the modern treatment takes place. But according to the Buddhist tradition and even Tibetan medical tradition, the whole human psychophysical body, psychophysical aggregate is taken into consideration. When if you have some problem here and there, it's all interconnected, interrelated. If in the world we see a problem, we should not say, oh, it's a problem only there. It's interconnected, it's interrelated, you see. So you can clearly see how important this idea of interdependent origination. But it is not easy. We need to repeatedly think, apply it to one's life, and find the truth of it. Then gradually we'll get some understanding. The ordinary people, they get scared, as is said in the verse 26. They get scared because they then think, if there is no I that has independent inherent existence, then I does not exist. Nor will it. That means if I does not have independent existence, then I does not exist now, nor in the future. Nor will it means nor in the future it will exist, because the I doesn't have independent inherent existence. And similarly, mind does not exist now, and it cannot exist in the future also. So in this way, the childish are frightened by this notion of having no independent inherent existence. But for the learned, the wise people, not only these things frighten them, but these things will help them end the fear, put the fear to rest. So how? So you need to make a distinction here. Independent existence and existence. Make a distinction between these two. Is there existence? Now answer please. Is there existence? Yes. Is there independent existence? No. Yeah. So the wise do not get feared, because when the Buddha taught things do not exist independently, yeah, things do not exist independently, but things exist. They are able to make this distinction, so they don't develop fear. The ordinary people, they get fear because for them existence means independent existence. Having no independent existence means non-existence. They fall into either nihilism or permanence. I mean, it's very simple to say, but related to our own thinking, it's not easy, because we mix the two. If I exist, I must exist independently. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense, you know. I exist, doesn't exist independently. It doesn't make sense. But the example that given is like, you exist, but how do you exist? You exist like a dream. You exist like a dream. Little after this, we'll read few lines where it says, I don't need to read this whole lines afterwards, we have no time. But it gives an example. For example, if you look at a mirror. If you look at a mirror, you see the reflection of your face. Now the face that you see in the mirror, is it face? Yes. Is it your face? Huh? Is it your face? Yes. No. It's not your face. It's just a reflection of your face. So, but if you see, many of you said yes. But if you see the reflection of your face in the mirror as your face and develop grasping to that, saying that this is my face, and then put cosmetics on that mirror, I mean, that's stupid, that's foolish, wastage of time. So similarly, our existence is actually like that reflection. Just as when you try to pinpoint your face in that mirror, you will not be able to find it. It's just a reflection of your face. Similarly, even with your own real face or your body, if you try to pinpoint, where is it? One after another. I say, this is my hand. I remove this, where is it? I remove this, where is it? I remove this, where is it? You know? This finger, take this away. Still my hand is there. This, remove this. Still my hand. If you split everything into part, you cannot find a hand. So hand is not just the aggregate of the parts of the hand, neither the individual parts nor the aggregate. Because even if the aggregate is there, if you don't give the designation hand, it will not become hand. Instead, if you call it water, it will become water. You see, this is like magic, like mystery really, how things function. So how things function is like magic, it's mystery. Therefore, if you read this beautiful text by Tsongkhapa, which is called Praising the Dependent Origination, Praising the Dependent Origination, it is available in the library. So I do some business while teaching also. So buy some of these books, and it's a beautiful commentary there also. So there Tsongkhapa praises. Some of my library staffs are laughing now. I'm working, so don't laugh. So Tsongkhapa used this title, Praising the Dependent Origination, because he was praising the Buddha by saying that, how come, how did you figure this out? How did you figure this out? This thing called dependent origination is really amazing. How did you figure this out? That things exist, do not exist independently. Things do not exist independently, but still things function. How does it happen? It's really like magic. But this does not mean to say that things do not function. Yes, if you do good, you will have good. You do bad, have bad, because of the interconnected reality. But interconnected reality is such that the more you try to grasp it, the more it will more or less disappear into thin air. So subtle. What you will ultimately find is Shunyata Emptiness. So Shunyata Emptiness means mere absence of independent existence. How do you see Shunyata? How do you see emptiness? This question is being asked, and it's answered in a text by saying, how do you see space? How would you describe space? What is space? Space is mere absence of obstruction, that is called space. So similarly, the mere absence of independent existence is called emptiness. If you compare emptiness to space, there's a lot of, I think, similarities. Like in the space gives opportunity for everybody to flourish, It's because of the space we are able to do constructions, we are able to move, we are able to live, Space gives the opportunity. So many things can be done when there is a space. So in the library these days I'm saying that we have problem because in the library we have not much space for any development. So if there is a space, we can do so many things. So similarly, if you have understood this notion of emptiness, Shunyata, you'll get so much space. There's so much flexibility. Things are interconnected, interrelated, You can do so many things. So understanding emptiness is really like, if you understand emptiness, it will make you relax. If you hold on to things, permanent, independent existence, objective existence, then you get stuck with something, you see. So it provides, that's why as I cited the words yesterday, as Nagarjuna said, to whom emptiness is possible, everything is possible. To whom emptiness is possible, everything is possible. To whom emptiness is not possible, nothing is possible. I'm not able to explain too much, you see. It's such a profound idea, really. Okay? Any questions? We need to stop here. Any questions? Now luckily these days there are so many good books, in Tibetan of course, even in English. Especially many of these books by His Holiness Dalai Lama, you should read them. The explanations are all very clear, they're all there, you just need to read them. Okay? And not just reading them, then try to relate it to your personal experiences. How would that knowledge will help you? How would that knowledge will help others? What is the relevance of these teachings to our present day world? We have to be realistic, we have to be pragmatic. And His Holiness himself once told me very clearly that if this Tibetan culture is not relevant today, as the great Chinese leaders are saying, if it is barbaric, backward, then why should we make any attempt to preserve it, really? Nobody will come to study this backward, barbaric culture, Buddhism, you see. So then we should also forget it. But that's not the case. Still so many people are showing interest in it. And many of you who come from more developed countries, you have not come here in search of money from the Tibetan people or a good luxurious accommodation, We don't have those things, you see. But you see some value, and that is really great. I'm not saying this is great because it belongs to the Tibetans, but this culture, this religion belongs to the whole world. And what we, the Tibetans, are trying to preserve is a world cultural heritage, which is unfortunately dying today. Dying because one, external intrusion, interference, disturbance. Another, the culture, religion itself is so systematic and so thorough and so profound. Not many people, unfortunately, have the time these days to go deep into those things. So gradually you will be able to, even the so-called scholars may be able to scratch a little bit and tailor it a little bit to, make people happy. But they will not be able to talk about the deeper realities, deeper aspects of Buddhist teaching, which is actually revolutionary in bringing about complete overhauling or transformation of the way we are living. See? So it's very important not to just spend few hours thinking, but little bit go down deeper, specialize it in it. Then you will be able to see, yes, this is so important, you see. Okay. So that's my feeling. Any questions? No questions? You are all like Buddha after his achievement of enlightenment, decided to stay silent for 2 weeks. I mean, we need to so many ways of studying Buddhism, so many ways of practicing it. Sometimes you should just focus on very small things, easy to understand things, common sense things. The life is short, number one. For example, life is short, and that's for sure. That doesn't need any explanation. Now, in today's time, very few people live around 100 or so. That's the maximum on an average, even if I give you some discount. So if average age is 100, after giving big discount, then again look at your life. Already 60 years, 50 years, 30 years, 40 years. So that means the remaining is 40 years, 30 years, 60 years maybe. Majority maybe 70 years. In this gathering, maybe majority maybe still maybe live another 70 years on an average. But there is no guarantee that you will live over that 70 years. So that's the reality. This being the reality, this being the case, that after 70 or so years, it's definite that one will die. But there is nothing to get scared about death. If you understand this Buddhist teaching, death is like changing the cloth. You don't get scared by changing the cloth, So similarly, if you had fashioned, if you had trained your mind, made your mind habituated with positive ways of thinking and living, then death is nothing. You will be born again, much younger, much fresh, much, This is like changing clothes. So there's nothing to scare about it. So therefore, while you live, you need to make a plan that each and every moment, each and every day, I will live happily, not at the cost of other people, but just by being good, being good to oneself, being good to others, not harming others, and then enjoy life. It's not like, oh, life is suffering and every day, Buddha is not talking about those things. Buddha probably was one of the happiest person in the world. And look at His Holiness Dalai Lama. He knows all the depth of all these teachings, That doesn't make him say, oh, samsara, so sad, He's always laughing, smiling, you see. So how can you be so happy? That's how I started this talk. How can you get happiness in a changing world, in a changing situation? That is the challenge. How can you be happy in a turbulent world? You can. How can you be happy in a changing situation, in a changing relationship? You can. Because at the end of the day, you are your own boss. If your attitude, your mental outlook, your perspective is completely under your control, and especially if you have the positive mental outlook and perspective, there is turbulence, so what? There is agitation, so what? There is suffering, so what? So what in the sense, so what not because you are insensitive, so what because if there is something that I can do, I'll do. That's it. If there is nothing I can do, so why should I worry, you see? That's what Shantideva advised. If it is something you can change, don't worry because you can change. If it is something you cannot change, no use worrying because by worrying don't change, So do the things that you can do and then be happy. Death is coming, so what? No problem. Sickness is coming, so what? Sickness means challenge. Sickness or suffering means basically challenge. It's only when you face challenges there is an opportunity for you to grow. If you don't face challenges, there is no opportunity for you to gain new experience and learn new things, you see. So sufferings, therefore these great teachers, they say suffering is introduction to happiness. If you look at two wrestlers, it's by wrestling against another wrestler that your muscles grow. If there's nobody to wrestle with, you will not be able to improve your wrestling skill. So challenges give you opportunities. So sufferings are challenges. So it is important to develop that wider, realistic, holistic perspective so that in a changing world, in a changing relationship, whatever be the case, you should be able to remain calm, peaceful and happy. So that is what these great teachings are talking about. Okay? Any questions? No question? Last chance. Okay, then we'll stop. Thank you very much. I wish you peace and happiness. May His Holiness and all the good people live long. Thank you very much.